Episode 29 of the reading of Michael McCoy's Garden, the 25th of November 1998. My annual seed raising efforts are quickly being reduced to nothing. I thought I was being so organised, sowing in mid to late October, all the summer things I'm relying on for full effect. Tithonia for height, gross foliage and screaming orange flowers. Datura wrightii for bold and bulky foliage with long white trumpet flowers. I might show you a picture of that. We've got quite a few of them in this book, this amazing annual Datura. Morning glory, heavenly blue for quick cover of trellis and those ethereal blue flowers over which I swoon. And red-leafed castor oil plant for incredible foliage and seed heads. They went into a friend's glasshouse to beat the cold. They all came up beautifully, if a little tall and etiolated, stretching toward the light. Then the fungus moved in and just about took the lot with damping off. Sometimes I wonder if glasshouses are worth it. They create more problems than they solve. The average Australian home gardener seems to think that glasshouses have some magic quality that accelerates growth and think that any cutting put in a glasshouse is bound to root. This is simply not so. Possibly more cuttings and seeds have been cooked in glasshouses in this country than have died to frost outdoors. Here, where winters are rarely severe enough to warrant heating the glasshouse, their primary function to the home gardener is to gain a few extra nighttime degrees so as to extend the growing season fore and aft by a few weeks. And even this will require a good deal of attention to ventilation and watering so as to avoid the attendant fungal problems or to avoid frying young plants in our occasionally hot spring weather. In a glasshouse, one cannot afford to neglect anything, and when gardening for myself, that's not a good place for me to be. I'd much rather place pots of cuttings and sown seeds outdoors in a shady site, protected from dripping and heavy rain. The only thing I can do now that it's almost getting too late for annuals to reach maturity this season is to direct sow more seeds. Notes I took last year of sowing time show that I'm not too far behind my dates, and most things did okay then. I think it's just such an interesting observation that one of the biggest challenges to growing things from seed is having the exact right location to put seeds once sown. Not once they're growing, in that period between sowing, that very fragile and demanding period between the sowing and the germination. So this area needs to be out of heavy rain or the drip from trees or anything from above, because heavy drops of rain or otherwise can disrupt the soil surface and actually bounce seed right out of the pot or the seed tray that you've sown into. The area needs to be out of direct sun, otherwise the soil surface dries out way too fast and you've got to water it several times a day to compensate. But it can't be in too darker shade conditions that when the plants germinate, that they immediately, and this is what happens, within a day or two of germination. On the first day, if they're in too shady a spot, they'll stretch too high and become etiolated, which is the correct term for that. And it means that they're then very susceptible to fungal problems. They also tip over and are much harder to prick out. Creating the exact right spot for seeds to germinate and grow happily is sufficiently challenging that 20 years later I still haven't managed it. Ideally what I'd have is a bench raised off the ground under some kind of solid covering, solid clear covering, possibly with a little bit of shade mesh over the top, just to take the real shine and brightness off the sun, somewhere very near a tap, and believe it or not, somewhere very prominent that I walk past daily. Otherwise I just forget to water this stuff. It's really quite tricky, and look, maybe it's one of the things that keeps me so engaged, because I can't stand the fact that year after year I continue to fail to reach my own expectations of perfection. I think I do all right, I grow a lot of stuff from seed and it's great fun, but I know I could do better still if I had just the right spot. And what I would really love, what I dream of more than anything else, is a cold frame, which is a construction covered in glass, quite low. It's not something you can step into. It's like a little glass house down at ground level that just modifies the temperature a bit, usually bricked around the outside in a way as to absorb heat during the day and give that back at night, just to take the danger of frost away. I don't want heat. I don't want to encourage things to grow really lush. It's just about keeping the frost off them and keeping the rain off them and being able to control by throwing some hessian or something over the top the light levels. One day I might achieve this. Anyway, join me tomorrow for the next episode of Michael McCoy's Garden.